the very bottom of Hayom and Bay's bottom line. There's an argument in the Mishnah between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel in terms of chinuch. A child, how old does the child have to be to bring him up to Yerushalayim to start training him in the midst of Rio? So Beis Shammai says that if the child's enough that you can carry him on your shoulder, that's sufficient. Beis Hillel says no, he has to be old enough that you can hold him by his hand and he can walk himself up the temple from Yerushalayim up to the Beis HaMikdash. Maskalo Reb Zero Ad Hochem Anasyo. So good. Here they're arguing, how does he go from what? From Yerushalayim up to the Beis HaMikdash. How old is he? But who brings him to Yerushalayim? I see, say, Imei. A woman, although she has no chiyuv to bring a Chagigah or a Rio, meaning the Ola, but fact because it's Mrs. Mangrama, but she has a mitzvah of Simcha, meaning to eat meat together with her husband. Nitzavim-Vayeilech. So now the question is, so to bring Yerushalayim, the mother comes, she brings her children, small children with her, children with the mother. And she has to come because it's Simcha, because it's a Shlomim. She can only eat the Shlom on Yerushalayim. Nitzavim-Vayeilech, im yochel lalos, v'lechos biyado shalov Yerushalayim l'arba'is chayov. So Beis Hillel says that if he's old, he's developed sufficiently, that he's able to hold on to his father's hand and ascend the mountain, chayov, then he's obligated, v'lo poter. Heishiv Rebbe tachs Beis Hillel din Beis Shammai. Now, Rebbe goes and defends the position of Beis Shammai that he has to be more mature. Why? It says, V'chana lo also. Chana was the mother of Shmuel. It says, Chana did not come to Yerushalayim. Ki omer leisha ad yigomel hanar v'viosif. That the child, when he'll be weaned, that he won't have to be nursed any longer, then I'll bring him to Yerushalayim. Then it was Mishkan Shiloh. Right, to Mishkan Shiloh. This is Shmuel Navi.
So we're talking about 2 years old?
Well, no, he's less than 2. When is a child weaned? Right? It's after 24 months.
Okay.
So a child, when he's a year old, he already could sit on his father's shoulders, right?
Okay.
So if he has a chiyuv to what? To already train his child from the time to hold on to sit on the shoulders. So if that's the case, she should have brought him, right? So what did Chana say to her husband? Lo also Chana lo also giyom l'isha ad yigom al narvi so Shmuel yochel lirkov al ksev v'shel aviv havo. At a year old, the child is developed sufficiently, he could sit on his father's shoulders. Omalei avua. So this is uletamech. Let's see Rashi. Aji gomel l'sof chofta l'chodesh kitiruk yoneg. A child is weaned after 24 months. Mishanu yochel lirkov al ksev shalov k'dei las mishalayim. V'kolshke mishilo l'mishkan. From Shiloh to the Mishkan, who's even closer. Cotton, okay. Omalei avua uletamech tiksh lechana gufa milo mechayv b'simcha. His father said to him, when it says Omalei avua, who's avua? Uletamech, according to your understanding. Omalei avua, that's Rebbe's father.
Yeah.
Rebbe's father said to him, and according to your understanding, what about Chana? She had an obligation to come to Yerushalayim because she had an obligation of Simcha. To the Mishkan Shiloh. Elachana mefankusa yisei rosa chazi baby Shmuel. You hear this? She saw Shmuel, even though he was developed sufficiently, but he was very delicate, and because he was very delicate, she was concerned for his health. V'chosha baby Shmuel lechulsha durcha. She was concerned that actually the trip would actually affect him, would weaken him to the point where she would put his life in jeopardy. So the reason why she didn't come for her own obligation is because she'd have to bring him. So if she'd have to bring him, the trip itself would be too much for him. So the same thing. The average child who's healthy at the age of 1, when he could sit on his father's shoulders, that's already the age of chinuch, to bring him up to the Temple Mount. Meaning for Aliyus HaRegel. Boy Reb Shimon, now we get interesting shaila. Boy Reb Shimon Gimel. Boy Reb Shimon ben Lokish. Shlokish posed the question, Cotton Chiger, the Dibri Beis Shammai. A minor who's lame, according to Beis Shammai. The Sumel Dibri Shneim. right? No. So like a cotton who's a chiger. What's a cotton chiger? Very interesting shayla. According to Beis Hillel, it's understood a child who cannot walk, there's no mitzvah chinuch. He can't walk. He can't expect, a child who's lame, do you have an obligation to take him to Shalayim? But he has to be able to walk. So if he can't walk, of course you don't take him. But according to Beis Shammai, that Beis Shammai says that when you start educating the child, training the child, when he can sit on his father's shoulders, let's say he's a chiger, let's say he's lame, so you say he doesn't have to walk, the father can carry him, right? It's not a problem. Of course, the chiyuv of chinuch starts, but the question is, what is the mitzvah of chinuch? You train a child to do something as a child, so when he's an adult to do it. If he's an adult and he's lame, right? So he definitely can't walk, so of course he doesn't go, right? We said earlier, regolim, why they go regolim? To exclude a person who can't walk. So if he'd be an adult, he'd be potter. But the question is, now as chinuch, since factually, now he could be carried on his father's shoulder, maybe he should be trained. So that's the shayla. Chigir koten ledivri b'shamai, v'suma, divishneim. A child that's blind. Mao, hechidam, what's the case? Ilem chigur shenioch lispasheit. Are we speaking of a child that's lame that he'll never recover? Meaning by the time he becomes an adult, he will not be able to walk. It's a permanent handicap. V'suma shenioch lisrapo, lispateach. He's blind, he'll never see. Hash the godel potter, cut me boy, it doesn't make any sense. If he be an adult in this state, he's never going to recover. So you're training him for what? You're training him to do the mitzvah even when he becomes an adult. He's going to be exempt because he can't walk or because he's blind. So what's the shayla? We're speaking now. He's a child now. He cannot see. He cannot walk. But by the time he becomes an adult, he'll heal. He'll recover. And he will eventually be able to see and be able to eventually walk. So that's the question. Now, as a child, although he can't walk, or as a child he can't see, but since ultimately when he becomes an adult he will, do I have to start training him in a state now, although the state now, if he'd be an adult, he would be exempt? Omar Abaye, so Abaye says a chidush. Kol hecho de godel mechayv midoraiso, kotnam im chayvinen lei, midrabanan. Meaning, if as an adult in this state he'd be obligated, so as a child you train him rabbinically. Kol hecho de godel poter midoraiso, but if as an adult he'd be exempt in this state, midrabanan, kotnami poter. Rabbinically you don't have to train him. It's a chidush. Even though when you train him now, it's for a time when he becomes an adult, he'll be of obligation. But since the state that he's now, if he'd be an adult, he'd be exempt, you don't train him. There's no chiv, rabbinic chiv to train him. We're talking he's lame. He could be 5 years old. 5-year-old child. No, we're talking about to bring him up. To bring him up, yeah. Now, Rashi says in the Mishnah, this is all rabbinical. Beis Shammai says that the olah has to be worth minimally 2 silver coins, small silver coins, and the Chagigah 1. Beis Hillel says to the contrary. You spend more on the Chagigah. The Chagigah is 2, and the olah is 1. Okay, that's rabbinical. Meaning, according to Beis Shammai, he gives greater value to the olah than to the Chagigah. According to Beis Hillel, he has greater value to the Chagigah than to the olah. Now the question is why? Tanur Rabbana Beis Shammai Omer Hariya Shtei Kesef. Why? It's more appropriate. You spend more something that goes fully to Hashem, right? A Chagigah, part goes to Hashem, part goes to the person. So because it's kula ula Hashem, you should spend mashengi b'Chagigah. Therefore, you should spend more on the olah than on the Chagigah. Okay? Secondly, regarding the korban that you bring on Shavuos, there's 7 animals that you bring specially for the Yom Tif, which are all olos, and only one of them is something which are eaten by the Kohanim, the Shalmei Chagigah, the Shtei Alechem, right? So if so, you see clearly the Torah values what? Logically, you should spend more on Hashem than you spend on yourself. Secondly, you see by Shavuos that you have more olos than what's eaten by the Kohen. Or Beis Hillel Omrim, no. Beis Hillel says, Hariya mo kesef. The Riyah, you spend less. V'chagigah shtei kesef. And the Chagigah, you spend 2 silver coins. Why? Shechagigah yesh lefnei adibur, before Kabbalas HaTorah. We find at Sinai, before Moshe ascended, it says that they brought Chagigah. They brought Shlomim. So you see, they brought Shlomim. This is before Adibur. This is before Sinai. Masha'enke b'Riyah, they only brought the korban Riyah later. That's firstly. So because since you see that Chagigah was in effect before the Riyah, therefore you spend more on the Chagigah than the Riyah. V'od motzinu b'Nisim sheriba ben hakos of Shlomim yosim mibeolos. We find by the Nisim during the inauguration of the Mishkan, the Nisim they brought Shlomim, more Shlomim than what? Right? Than Olos. So since there were more Shlomim than Olos to inaugurate the Mishkan, the Nisim, therefore you see Shlomim has greater value than what's it called? Than Olah. So now the question is, Beisil my tamado Amri Beishamai. Beishamai says two reasons. Logically, you should spend more on Hashem than you spend on yourself. Secondly, they said, because you find by Tzeres, by Shavuos, they're more Olos than Shlomim. Okay? So the Gemara says, Beisil my tamado Amri Beishamai. Amri Ria Adifa Deola Kula Gavoa Adraba Chagigah Adifa. Chagigah has a greater characteristic. Why? This Beishte Achilos. It's true. It's all Kula Gavoa, but the mitzvah for the Hejot, for the participation of the two entities partaking, you don't have. So there's a greater representative. Udaka nail of Matzeres. We should learn from the Korban Tzibur on Shavuos. Don and Korban Yochen, the Korban Yochen, the Don and Korban Yochen, the Korban Tzibur. Shavuos is a Korban Tzibur, right? The Shalmei, the Shlomim that comes with the Shtei Alechem, that's a Korban Tzibur. It's not a Korban Yochen. Here we're talking about the private korban that one has to bring on Yom Tif. That's a private korban. It's not a communal korban. So now, okay. So Beisil responded to Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai Tamid Omer ke Beis Hillel, right? What does Beis Hillel say? Beis Hillel said two things. He says, firstly, we find that Chagigah was before Lifnei Adibur, pre-existent Sinai. Secondly, by the Nisim, there were more Shlomim than Olos, right? Those are the two things. That's Beis Hillel. The comment Chagigah Adifa the Yeshel Lifnei Adibur, Riyah Nami Yeshel Lifnei Adibur. That before Sinai, they also brought a korban Riyah. They brought Olos. Yeah, they brought Olos, in addition to the Shlomim. Ut Kamrit Neilf ben Nisim, learn from Nisim, by the Chanukah Samizbeach, they what? By the Chanukah Samishkan, the Nisim brought more Shlomim than Olos. Dona Davar Nog Ledoros, Midavar Nog Ledoros. We learned something that's continuous for all generations. From some that's continuous all generations, that was a one-time thing. Was the inauguration of the Mishkan. For the inauguration of the Mishkan, there were more shlomim that, but on an ongoing basis, no. Beishamai says not only was there Chagigah before Sinai, meaning before Moshe ascended, there was even Riyah. So Beis Hillel, why does he say it was on Chagigah and not the Chsiv? It says in the Pasuk, Vayizbchu Zvochim Shlomim. It says they brought the Neorim, the youths, they brought Zvochim Shlomim. That was before Kabbalah Satorah. So it says Riyah Nami Ksiv, Hoksiv Vayalu Olos. It says they brought burnt offerings. So just as it says they brought Shlomim, it says they brought Olos. So you see there was Riyah right before the Dibur too. Ksav Beis Hillel, Ola Shikrivu Yisrael Bamidbar, Olas Tomad Avoy. That Ola wasn't an Olas Riyah. It was an Olas Tomid. Every day you have to bring a communal sacrifice. Even though it was before Kabbalah Satorah, they brought a morning communal sacrifice. That's what it was, Olas Tomid. It wasn't a private Olah. It was what? It was a communal Olah. That's Beis Shammai. In regard to the Shlomim, that was a personal Shlomim. So because Shlomim existed pre-Sinai, therefore it has greater value than Olah. They brought the Olah. That Olah was a korban tzibur. Okay? So what is Beis Shammai? Beis Shammai, Savri, no. Olah shekrivu Yisrael b'midbar Olah Shri That the Olah that the Jews brought in the Midbar before Kabbalah Satorah, that was an Olah Riyah, that was not an Olah Tamid. The Olah Tamid first came about later, after the Mishkan, when the Mishkan came about. Omer Abaye says, Omer Abaye, Beis Shammai, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Lozer, Kulu, Svirdu, Olah Shekrivu Yisrael b'midbar Olah Shri Havoy. You hear this? Beis Shammai, Rabbi Shmuel, the Rabbi Lozer, they all hold that the Olah that was brought in the Midbar was Olah Riyah, was not an Olah Sibor, wasn't an Olah Tamid. And Beis Hillel, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Kula Svirdu. Beis Hillel, Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Yossi, they all hold Olah Shekrivu Yisrael b'midbar Olah Tamid Havoy. So therefore, his position is that what? That you spend more money on the Chagigah than on the Olah. Beishamai Hodamaran. So Beishamai we just said, right? Beishamai just said that the Ola that was brought before Sinai was what? Was Ola's Rio. Who's Rabbi Shmuel? Right? Rabbi Shmuel, the Tanya. Rabbi Shmuel Omer. Interesting. Listen to this. Klolos Nember Sinai. There were general halachas given at Sinai. General. Uprotos Bolamoid. But when it came to actually bring the korban, that was said later. This at Sinai, Kodesh Baruch Hu did not tell Moshe Rabbeinu the details. Meaning he spoke about you bring a korban, but the details of the korban were not. Meaning that you have to strip its hide, you have to cut it into parts. All that was only communicated to Moshe Rabbeinu when? By the Mishkan. When it was necessary for those halachas to be implemented, right? That's when they was communicated to Moshe Rabbeinu. This is Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Kiva Omer, Rabbi Kiva says no. Klolos uprotos number Sinai. Not only were the general laws given, even the details of how to actually bring it about that was given at Sinai. V'nishlu bo'omod, and it was repeated again when the Mishkan was built. You know, hefshit, v'nituach, stripping the hide, it has to be cut up, how you sprinkle the blood, all that. It was already, everything was taught at Sinai, and it was repeated again at Ol Moed. V'nishtalshu barvas Moed. And again, Moshe Rabbeinu communicated to Klal Yisrael in this week's parsha, right? Before Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, he communicated this in Arvas Moed. This is Rabbi Shmuel. So Rabbi Shmuel says, what was given at Sinai? What was given at Sinai was just the generalities. The details were only when it was going to be implemented. So it comes out like this. Let's say the Olas Talmud was given at, they brought an Olas Talmud at Sinai, like Beis Hillel. So what does that mean? That means the laws of stripping it and cutting it up, all that, was not done. They did it without that. So it comes out, it's a funny thing. Something which they're commanded to bring an Olas Talmud. Olas Talmud you're obligated to bring. It manifests itself in two ways. Before Sinai it comes in one way, and at the Mishkan also the new halachas which apply to it, which is problematic, because it's a chiyuv. What they brought at the foot of the mountain wasn't a chiyuv. They brought shlomim, that was they donated the shlomim. The ola they donated. It's olas riyah. But if you say that it's olas tamid, it can be. So you have the tamid establishes in two ways. You have a chiyuv to bring a tamid, you bring it as a chiyuv, as an obligation, one way. And when the Mishkan is built, you bring that same tamid as an obligation differently. That we'll see it inside. Isol daidach olas shikrivu yisrael b'mid olas tamid avoy mika midi is the such a mikora. Low boy hefshiv nituach that initially it's an obligation to bring, but you don't have to strip its hide. You don't have to cut it up into parts to put it on the mizbeach. But when the Mishkan was built, the same obligation, it manifests itself differently. Boy hefshiv nituach doesn't make any sense. Therefore, Rabbi Shmuel says, what was the korban at Sinai? The ola was olas riyah. So it was olas riyah. It was just as the shlomim was done voluntarily. The ola was also voluntarily. So they brought both. So you can't say that the Chagigah the shlom has greater value than the ola, because just as the shlomim was brought before Sinai, the ola was also brought before Sinai. So, but what does Rabbi Kiva say? No. Rabbi Kiva and Beis Hillel concur with one another. What was brought at Sinai? Olas Talmud. And what was given at Sinai wasn't only the generalities, it was all the details of the halachas. So whatever took place in the Mishkan later, they did at Sinai before the Torah was given. Rabbi Lozer. So we have Rabbi Kiva is consistent with Beis Hillel, and Rabbi Shmuel is consistent with Beis Shammai. Who's Rabbi Lozer? Rabbi Lozer is the third opinion. The Tanya. It says Olas Tomid Hoasuya Bahar Sinai. So it says, it refers to Olas Tomid, that's the daily communal offering that was done at Sinai. Rabbi Lozer Omer, Masav Nemru B'Sinai, hear this? Meaning, Maser, the laws were transmitted at Sinai, V'hi Atzma Lo Kreva. That's what he interprets the pasuk. Hear this? The Ola, the laws were given, but the actual bringing wasn't brought until the Mishkan. It says they brought Ola, so what kind of Ola was it? Evidently, Kon Reb Lozer was an Ola Asri'iyah. So you can't say that the Chagigah has greater value than the Ola, because they also brought an Ola. Reb Kiva no, Kreva. That when it says Ola Stuma Asuya, not only were the laws given, it actually was sacrificed. It was brought as an Ola Stomid. V'shuv lo Posko. So again, so Reb Kiva again is like Beis Hillel. So what was at Sinai? There was Shlomim and Olas Tomid. What about Olas Riyah? Olas Riyah was later. So because it preceded Sinai, the Shlomim, therefore when it comes to expenditure, the Chagigah has to have greater value than the Olah. That's explicit in the Pasuk. In the Torah, it's explicit. No. They're Bechorim. The Bechorim, before the Chet Egel, who were the Kohanim? The Bechorim were. The firstborns were that. And already the mitzvah was given, make for me a Mizbech Adoma. Right? Earthenware, an earthen altar. No. We're talking about this is as Jews. This is at Sinai, at the foot of Sinai. Rashi brings the Pesukim before. Where is it? Rashi Amud Aleph. Yeah, Rashi Amud Aleph brings the Pesukim. If you take a look at Rashi, Basil says Shlomim was before Lifnei Adibor. Kodem Matan Torah. Rashi says before Matan Torah, Hikrivu Shlomim b'Sinai. Where does it say in the Torah? It says D'chsiv Vayishlach es Nari b'nei Yisrael. He sent the youths of Bnei Yisrael to bring the Shlomim. V'avagav Daikros, Rashi himself says, even though this posuk is mentioned, Ve'elu b'shpotim lachaseres adibros, code, right? Even though it seems to be, it's after the giving of Torah. So Rashi is really a quarter baseres dibros havo. Ve'mugdem mucha b'Torah. We say sequence in Torah doesn't necessarily mean, even though it's stated later, it really happened before. V'ochi time seru Shabbos, kos mar Shabbos for Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Yossi Omer, B'sheni olav yorad shlishi olav yorad. Ravi Yorad v'shuv lo'olah b'chamishi bon mizbeach. The fifth day before he ascended, he built a mizbeach. V'hikriv olav korban nitna Torah. V'shishi nitna Torah ve'na tomotzin sinas haTorah binyam mizbeach. The only time the mizbeach was built, that was before Moshe went up to receive the Torah. Shnem v'yishlach es nari b'nei Yisrael. Okay, that's where we're at. Okay, further. No, it's a mitzvah later.
So the question is, how do I understand the first Mishnah and then put it together with this? How I understand?
No, the question is rabbinically, why did Chazal say you should spend more on the Chagigah than on the Olah Riyah?
Right, so once I did an obligation to the
No, you have an obligation to bring both. The Torah says you have an obligation. That's afterwards. But of course, rabbinically, they said spend more on the Chagigah
so that's the question.
than on the Olah. That's what we're talking about. Of course, you have it. Also, it says explicit in Torah you have to bring both every Yom Tov.
Right.
You have to bring an Olah Riyah and you have to bring a Chagigah.
Right.
No, everybody agrees. It's a question, how much do you spend? Do you spend more on the Olah or do you spend more on the Chagigah? Beis Shammai says more on the Olah, and Beis Hillel says more on the Chagigah.
So this is the first which has no relevance.
No discussion. Right. Here we're talking specifically what is the basis for the Machlokes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel rabbinically, why each one says the expenditure should be greater on one more than the other. That's our discussion here. Okay? Someone asks, Elama ani mekayim. There's a posuk in Amos, Hazvochim u'mincha higashtem li bamidbar. The Navi says, the sacrifices in the mincha you brought to me in the midbar, Arbom Shona Beis Yisrael. Yeah. There you go. Loshin Temo. O Mashlik Rivo, Lefish Nisufim Hoyo. It says, Hasvochem Mincho Igashten Li Bamidbar Mumshona Beis Yisrael. Yeah. So it says, it seems to be they didn't bring it. They didn't bring it in the midbar. On that, the Gemara says, Shivto Shalev Shlov Devo Zehini Krivo also. No, Shevet Levi did bring it. They weren't castigated. Because they weren't involved in the Egel. Beis Hillel, Hodamorin. Beis Hillel, we already stated. Beis Hillel holds that you spent, he said, what's the basis for his position? Either because it was before Sinai, because of Shtei Achilos. Because there's the Mizbeach gets part of the Korban, and the people eat the Korban. So that's why the Chagigah has greater value than the Olah. Rabbi Kiva Nami, Damoran. Reb Kiva also, we just said. Reb Kiva holds that the Ola at Sinai was Ola's Tomid. So when was the Ola Sriya brought? After Sinai. Rabbi Yosef Aglili, Rabbi Yosef, we said the third opinion, who concurs with the Hillel and Rabbi Kiva, is Rabbi Yosef Aglili. Who's Rabbi Yosef Aglili? Okay. The Tanya, Rabbi Yosef Aglili, Omer. Sholosh mitzvahs nitztavu Yisrael balosim l'regel. The Klal Yisrael were commanded in 3 mitzvahs when they ascended to the Temple Mount. Riyah, the Riyah is the Korban Riyah. Chagigah, the festival offering. V'simcha, that's also shlomim, but it's to celebrate during Yom Tov, to have meat. So it says in the Braisa, this is Rabbi Yosef Elisa, Yesh b'Riyah shem b'shtein. There's something unique about the Riyah, about the Olah, which you don't find not by the Chagigah and not by the Simcha, by the Shlomim of Simcha. V'yesh b'Chagigah, there's something unique in the Chagigah, she'ein b'shtein, that's not by the other two. V'yesh b'Simcha, she'ein b'shtein. There's something in the Simcha, that's the Shlomim, which is not there. Now it goes to explain what is it. Yesh b'Riyah she'ein b'shtein. You have something unique about the Riyah, which you don't find the Oshar Riyah, Ola, Kula, Lagavor, right? What's the Korban Riyah? It's a burnt offering. There's no participation of the person that eats any of it. Burnt. The Chagigah and the Simcha are eaten by what? By the people. By the one who brings the Chagigah, the one who brings the Shlomim. Mashen b'shtein. Yesh b'Chagigah mashen b'shtein. There's something unique about the Chagigah, the festival offering, which you don't find by the Ola Sriya or the Shlomim. Chagigah yesh lefnei adibur. You hear this? Chagigah pre-existed Sinai. Mashen b'shtein. So what it says explicitly. The Chagigah pre-existed Sinai, but the Ola Sriya is when? Was after Sinai. Okay, so this is Beis Hillel. Yesh b'simcha mashen b'shtein. What's b'simcha? Sha'simcha noheges ba'noshim u'b'noshim. That just as the man has an obligation to eat the meat, the woman also has. Mashen b'shtein, a woman has no obligation to bring the Chagigah, and has no obligation to bring the Ola Sriya. But it says explicitly, what does the Chagigah have over the Riyah and over the Simcha? A pre-existent Sinai. Okay? For Gemara says, Rabbi Shmuel, my taimo lo mukmas lo kebei Shammai. Rabbi Shmuel said what? Rabbi Shmuel says, what's the reason why the Ola before Sinai was what? Was Olas Riyah? So he said, it says, because it says, there you go, Rabbi Shmuel, because he says that the Klolim were before Sinai, and the Pratim were not before Sinai, right? That's Rabbi Shmuel. So Rashi has a different shot. Rashi has a different gears. Lo garsina and omaloch v'ochibur shel Abayi porach. The Moreh says Abayi. Abayi originally says that Beis Shammai, Rabbi Shmuel, and Rabbi Elazar all concur, right? That the Ola that was at Sinai was what? Was an Olas Riyah, right? So Moreh says on Abayi, Domalel Pei Shambis, Rabbi Shmuel, Maitam Mukvis Lo, Rabbi Shmuel Lo Kilchso, right? If you're saying Rabbi Shmuel concurs with Beis Shammai, that means you're saying Rabbi Shmuel is not. Rabbi Shmuel never said that you spend more on the Ola than on the Chagigah. But the way Abai is explaining it, he's equating Rabbi Shmuel to Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai is not the halacha. What's forcing Abaye to say Rabbi Shmuel is like Beis Shammai? Eino Mishnah. The reason is, as he explained, because according to Rabbi Shmuel, the details of the Ola were not said at Sinai. So he says, what's the reason? Because originally, if it's Olas Tomid at Sinai, that means first the Ola was brought in one way, the daily communion offering, and later differently. Right? That forced Abayi to say that the Rabbi Shmuel concurs with Beis Shammai, that the Ola was an Olas Riyah. Let's get back. This is what pushed Abai. I mean, originally the Olas Tomid, you didn't have to strip its hide and cut it up into pieces, and at the Mishkan you did. But Rabbi Yosef Glili Doma Ola Shkriv Yisroba Midba Ola Stomer Avoy. Right? Rabbi Yosef Glili holds that the Ola that was brought at Sinai was what? Was Ola's Tamid. So boy Hefshin Tuach. And yet, initially, it didn't have to be stripped to hide. And later, the Tanya, Rabbi Yosef Glili Omer, Ola Shekrivu Yisroba Midba Eina Tura Hefshin Tuach. Yeah? Lefisha in Hefshin Tuach Elabol Moed Vayeilech. Tzarchiyun. What's Abayi says, Rabbi Shmuel concurs with Beis Hillel. Why? Because at Sinai, only the Klolim were given, general laws, but the details of how to officiate weren't given. So he says, but then it's something which is unusual. You have a chiv to bring a tomid every day. It's a communal offering. Before Sinai, it was what? Without stripping the hide, without cutting up. And the same carbon in the Mishkan, it manifests itself differently. Therefore, it's unacceptable. Therefore, Rabbi Shmuel must hold that the Ola at Sinai was an Ola Sriya. It wasn't an obligatory Ola. It was a voluntary Ola. That's how Rabbi Sidmar says. Rabbi Yosef Glili says explicitly that the laws, that he is of the opinion that what was the Ola at Sinai, pre-Sinai, Ola's Tomid. And he says the Ola's Tomid before the Mishkan did not have to have its side stripped or cut up, and only later. So if that's the case, what are you forcing Rabbi Shmuel to concur with Beis Shammai, which is not the halacha? Rabbi Shmuel should be no worse than Rabbi Yosef Glili. On that, the more answer, some Mikar Rabbi Shmuel. Strike it from the text. That who concurs with Beis Shammai, not Rabbi Shmuel, but rather Rebbe Lozer. Okay, terrific. No, because it wasn't given. The laws weren't given till the Mishkan. That's all Moed. The laws of stripping it and cutting it to pieces were not given till all Moed. No. It's not. It wasn't. So if you tell me it's an Ola Sriya, it's voluntary, you're right. There's nothing specific. You just burn the whole thing. You don't have to cut it up. You just slaughter it, sprinkle the blood, you just burn the whole animal with its hide and everything. That's Ola Sriya. That was pre-Sinai. Now, after Sinai, things changed. So you say, if it's Ola Sriya, it's just a voluntary. But if you say the reason why I brought the Ola, because the Torah dictates you must bring the communal offering. So it comes out we have the same obligation manifesting itself in two different ways. Before Sinai, although it's an obligation to bring the Olas Tomid, is one way, and then when the Mishkan comes, it's differently. So what's the problem? Rabbi Yosef Glili is of that opinion. It's an obligation. Pre-Mishkan, it manifested itself one way, and post-Mishkan, it manifests itself differently. The same mitzvah as an obligation. No, same thing. So that's that. No. It says at pre-Sinai, at the foot of the mountain, before Moshe ascended, they brought shlomim and they brought olos. We have a question, what are those olos? Was it voluntary or was the communal daily offering? Was it private or was communal daily? That was the question. No, that's the Machlus Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel says it was what? It was an Olas Tomid. It was the obligation, the daily communal offering had to be brought. Pre-Sinai. We do rule it. We rule like Beis Hillel. Boy, Rav Chisda, new question. Rav Chisda posed the question. Hai kro hechi ksiv. This posuk, it says, Vayishlach es narei neisov vayalu olos kvosim. It says, they sent the youths of Neisov vayalu olos kvosim, Dalid, Ushlomim porim. Odim li'idi vidi porim havu. That's the question. Yeah, you see the pasuk. It says, "Vayishlach es nar b'nei Yisrael vayalu olos vayizvu zvochim shlomim lashem porim." It doesn't say kvosim in the pasuk. It says porim is mentioned after shlomim, right? You have two things. You have kvosim, sheep, and you have bulls, right? So the pasuk says they brought olos. It says, "Vayishlach es nar b'nei Yisrael vayalu olos it doesn't say what the olas were. So we want to know, were the olas kfosim, were they sheep? And the zvochim, the shlomim were porim? Oh no, they're both. That's the question. V'yishlach es nari b'nei Yisrael v'yalu olos. He takes out the word kfosim. V'yizvu zvochim shlom l'Hashem porim. They were both porim. Odil, right, mean one was kfosim and one was porim. Odil ma idi vidi porim havu. Lamai nafkamina. What is the nafkamina? Right? Whatever they did then, they did then. Mora says, by nafkamina, marzucho lepisuk timing. It's just a question where to put the punctuation. If you say they were two species, so that you're going to put a pause, you can say like, v'yishlach nari b'nei Yisrael v'yadu olos, comma. V'yislu shlomim l'Hashem porim. But if it's really, they both the same species, you would read it, v'yalu olos, v'yizbuchu zvochim shlom l'Hashem porim. It's purely for punctuation. Yeah? Ravach b'rei the Ravam Omer, harei olai Ola ka'ola shikri b'nei Yisrael b'amidbar. Yeah, let's say a person makes a neder. I accept upon myself an ola like they brought in the midbar. So if they brought in the midbar kfosim, my obligation is to bring sheep. If they brought in the midbar porim, then my obligation to be porim. My porim havu, o kfosim havu, teku. It's unresolved. So if a person makes such a neder, you know what he has to do? He has to bring both. Either he has to null the neder or bring both to cover the both bases. So because what they did then is irrelevant. What they did then. They did then, whatever they did. Whether it was sheep, whether it's bull, but a person makes a neder today, says, Harei alai. The ola that they brought pre-Sinai, now it is a halacha question. Was it a sheep? Was it a bull? Teku. It remains unresolved. Further. Tanan Hosam, we say this every morning after Birchas HaTorah. Tanan Hosam. We learned in the Mishnah, in Peyo, Dalit. Yeah. Elud Vorm Shein Lem Shiur. Yeah, this sounds familiar. These are the things which there's no set limit. HaPeyo, HaBikurim, HaRayon. What's Rayon? Rayon is the Korban Riyah. Ugemilas Chason Talmud Torah. So Rashi says, although on a Torah level there is no minimum or maximum, but rabbinically there is. Rashi says, Lo nidna bo Torah shir. The Torah didn't set a limit, but Chachomim nosu bo shir. But the Chachom set a minimum. 1/60th. Chen habikurim. It says lokachtem reishis kol pri adomo lo nemer kamo harayon. What's Rayon is korban riyah. Okay. So what does it say here? Om Rabbi Yochanan kisvur anu lomar harayon ein lo shir lamalo. When we say rayon, there's no shir. That's lamalo, meaning maximum. Maximum, you could spend $100,000 on the korban if you want. Avol yesh lo shir lamato. Yeah, that's the way Rabbi Yochanan said. We originally thought that the rayon, the korban riyah, there's no shir lamala, but minimally you have to spend a certain amount. Achvar Rabbi Oshia b'Rebbe. On a Torah level, the korban riyah could be even worth even less than a what? Less than the smallest silver coin, a pruta. Pruta is a copper coin. Doesn't have minimally worth. That we discussed is a one coin or two silver coins. That's all rabbinical. On a Torah level, Rabbi Yochanan says, originally we thought that on a Torah level, the rayon has to be worth minimally a certain amount. But then afterwards, when Rabbi Oshia Rebbe came and taught us, no, harayon ein lo shir lo lamalo lamato. Av chachomim, amrachom hariyo mo kesef acheg shtei kesef, which is what that's Beisila. Rabbinically, they said that the korban riyah, the ola, is one silver coin, and the chagigah is two silver coins. My harayon, what's the meaning of harayon? Rabbi Yochanan hariyos pinim bazora. Yeah. What's riyos pinim bazora? When we have a question, what does it mean? When it says riyah has no shear, how many times on Yom Tov do you have to visit the Temple Mount? Once, twice? So when it says Harai Elo Shir, not Lamat Lamailo, Rabbi Yochanan explains it to mean that you could visit the Temple Mount as few or as many. Rish Lakish says no, that's not what the Mishnah means. The Mishnah Pei doesn't mean that. Omar Rios Pinim Bekorban. Yeah? Then no, it's referring to bringing the korban. They're talking about the value of the korban. The value of the korban. Okay? That's what we're discussing over here. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, you could visit as many times. Every time you visit, you don't have to bring a korban. Yeah? According to Rabbi Yochanan, you could visit the Temple Mount as many times as you want. And how often do you have to bring the Ola? Just one time. One time. Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish says no, you could visit it as many times as you want, but every time you come, you have to bring another Ola. You can't just visit it empty-handed. Okay? That's the Machlokes. Rabbi Yochanan Ariyas Pinim Bazora. Rish Lakish Ariyas Pinim Bekorban. Gemara says like this: Bika Regel Kuli Amalo Pligi Hariya Riyas Pinim Bekorban. Everybody agrees. When you visit the first time, you have to bring a korban. You have to bring an olah. There's no such thing. Ki pligi b'shari mosaregel. Let's say cholamoid. Person wants to come back cholamoid, come back to the Azor, to the Temple Mount. Does he have to come back with a korban? Not. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Rabbi Yishlok says every time you come back, you got to come back. Ki heich kol heichod de'osi ve'aisi. Kolabel pligi de'kamlimne. There's no question. If you want to bring it, you can bring it. It's no worse than a voluntary olah, right? Let's say a person wants to bring a voluntary olah. They accept it. Why not? What about if he comes and he doesn't bring the olah? Then it's a problem. The Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion whenever you come, you don't have to bring a korban. You just have to bring one korban during Yom Tov. You want to come to the Azorah, you have to come with a korban. Whenever you come, you have to come with a korban. You cannot come to the Azorah without a korban. Even though you already had come previously at another day with a korban, every time you visit, you have to come with a korban. Rabbi Yochanan says no, you only have to come once with a korban. All the subsequent times, you come empty-handed, it's fine, it's not a problem. That's the machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Eisvei Rish Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish says, Rabbi Yochanan says, "Lo yiro ponei reikom." It says you should not see my countenance empty-handed. So how could you, Rabbi Yochanan, say you're able to come empty-handed? Omar lebika regel. He says, of course, that's speaking about the initial obligation. You cannot come the first time empty-handed. But what here we're speaking about after that. Eisvei, it says, Lo yiro ponei reikom, bizvochim at omer. It says you should not see my counts empty-handed. Means with a korban. Maybe you're able to bring a mincha, right? You can bring any korban. Who said it has to be an animal? Maybe it could be any animal. It could be a mincha. It could be a bird. Vidinu nemra chagigo lehedjit v'nemach rio legavoa. Now it says very interesting. The species that you bring the festival offering. What is it? You want to bring a bird. You can't bring a bird. It has to be a goat, a sheep or a goat. Right? You cannot bring a bird. So just as Chagiga for the Hedjit cannot be a bird or a mincha, right? Didu. Nemra Chagiga Hedjit, Nemra Rio Legavo. Ma Chagiga Mura Hedjit Zvochim. It has to be an animal. It cannot be a mincha or a bird. Afriya Mura Legavo Zvochim. It must be an animal. It cannot be a bird or mincha or a meal offering. Umahin Zvochim. And what are the Zvochim? Olos. What is Zvachim? Burnt offerings. Atom Olos or Elo Shlomim. When you come to the Beis Hamikdash and it says you should not come empty, how do we know that it's an Olo? Maybe it's a Shlomim. Part of the animal goes on the Mizbeach. Vidinu, Nemer Chagig Lehedjid, Nemer Chagig Rio Legavo, Ma Chagig Amur Lehedjid, Beroilo. Just as it means that it's something he's going to eat. Afri Amur Legavo, Beroilo. V'chein bedin shlo yei shulchan chamole shulchan rach v'chreikob How is your table that you have food, you don't give to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So what do we see here? That you see, no, but you see here, every time you go, you have to bring a korban. Amalei again, bika regel. That's the initial obligation of the korban. Just 1 second. He says something. How do we know zvochim? How do we know zvochim means an animal, not a bird? So Rashi says, because why is a zevach called a zevach? Right? A korban is called a zevach. Because he says zavuach means slaughtered. You slaughter with a knife. The oaf, the bird, how do you kill the bird? With your nail, the thumbnail. So that's why it's not called a zevach. A bird is called malika. You do malika to a bird. But the Torah says it's zvochim. Zvochim means an animal, something that's killed with a knife. So what's called a knife? That's only an animal. Because a bird, knife has no relevance to the animal. Okay, we'll stop here. Okay, it was good.